what are we calling this?
Don't know. Musical special, innit?
Yeah. Or let's see. Try and be creative. Musical Musings with Stace. Or Stace and Barry do Musical Musings, or Stace and Barry
the musical.
The musical. No, people
would expect singing, and they don't want
singing. It. No, they don't want it. No one wants that.
Oh God.
Right, the sun's out. I hope the sun's out where you are. The sun's out where I am. It's hot. It's too hot. I feel I might die. But I'm not going to die. Not before we do this special recording. So this isn't Stace and Barry in the morning. I mean, it is Stace and Barry, and you are probably listening to this in the morning. But forget those preconceptions, because this is a special. This is a musical special, but we're not singing.
Thank God. To the collective sigh of relief to the audience there.
Up front, there will be no. Well, there may be some singing. I don't think there will be.
Can't rule it out.
Yeah, this is a special Musical Musings. So for those who are listening for the first time, why? We have a little segment in our show where we both pick a song from a soundtrack or a track from a soundtrack, and we discuss it and we recommend it. So we thought in this little segue between seasons, we would have a bit of a special. I want to give a shout out to H&V. They know who they are, who been suggesting to me for a little while that we should do a Musical Musing Special. Also, you did some special trumpets for them whilst we were away.
Oh, is that who I was trumpeting
yes,
for?
Yes, it was.
Oh, that's adorable. My hubby was like, what was that sound? Nothing. No, don't worry about it.
just eat your rich tea.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck up.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. I just realised his name was Rich, and I said Rich Tea. Double J.
You did?
Double entendre. Boom.
Boom.
Double word squat. I'm rambling. Stace, help me.
I don't know if I can. Hey, I'm Stace, that's Barry. This is a musical episode. I told you I couldn't guarantee there wouldn't be singing.
Jeez.
I can guarantee it won't be good. If there is any of it, it's going to be bad. Hey, yeah. So Barry sent me a message and he was like, do you want to do a Musical Musing Special? And I was like, hell yeah, because I like music. Yeah. And so that's what you're listening to right now. Just if you were wondering what the hell is happening. Should we just get right into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. So we've got 3 picks each. I have no idea what Stacey's picked, and she has no idea what I've picked. I'm hoping what I've picked isn't anything that I've already picked, but I can't guarantee.
Barry, check the spreadsheet. I shared it with you on Dropbox.
Yeah, I know.
Specifically for this reason.
I know. But then, that's how I live. I live at, 90 miles an hour, like Vin.
Okay.
All about family.
Oh, those films, ridiculous.
Right. Do you wanna kick things off?
Okay, and since you mentioned Vin Diesel, I'll go with this one first. Ooh. This is going to throw you what I'm about to say, but I'll tell you how it relates to Vin Diesel in a minute.
Okay.
So I logged onto our Dropbox earlier and went onto our spreadsheet to have a little wee look, and I was livid with myself, Barry, because for fucking episodes upon episodes, I've been holding myself back from picking 2 particular pieces of music because I was convinced I'd picked them before, and I fucking haven't. Right. I fucking haven't. So here's one of them. It's a piece of music called Jump, and I say that loudly because it has an exclamation mark, so you have to shout it. It's by Steve Jablonsky, and it's from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. And the reason that it links to Vin Diesel, because he is not in that movie, is because this piece of music happens in one of my favourite sequences in the film, which is when they are trying to follow Bebop and Rocksteady to Brazil. So they hop in a cargo plane and they're like, right, we're going to go to Brazil, lads, happy days. And then they get sort of halfway there, they're in the sky in a plane, and Donnie's like, shit, they're already on their way back. So they figure out that they can jump off of their plane onto Bebop and Rocksteady's plane and do an interception in it. So Donnie, being ever the badass, is like, hey, we've got a 30-second window for this, so all right, see ya, and just jumps out the plane like a lunatic. And this is where we discover that Raph doesn't really like heights, which is really funny to me, because the start of this movie is them just leaping around on skyscrapers and wanging each other around off of roofs. But I guess being in a plane is slightly different. So yeah, so the three of them have jumped out of the plane, and Raph is still in there shitting himself. And there's a bit where he leans out of the door and just goes, "Oh, what would Vin Diesel do?" Because he's totally panicking. And it's a brilliant scene because it's very funny. The brothers are all great. Donnie's a badass, and the music in it is absolutely top tits. Fantastic. So Steve Jablonsky, I think we've picked him a couple of times before. I know I've definitely picked one of the ones from Transformers.
I think I have as well.
Yeah, he's really, really good. And the great thing about this soundtrack, because he didn't do the soundtrack to the first Bay TMNT, he did the second one, which was great because the second one was a combination of Shredder and like Krang and the Technodrome. And Steve Jablonsky is very good at making what I would term to be like metallic sounding orchestra, which is possibly an insane thing to say. But what I mean by that is that like everything, it still sounds like a really bombastic, amazing orchestra, but at the same time, like all the bits of music that are involving the Technodrome and the Krang and the Shredder also have this sort of weird, sort of metallic-y, techy kind of edge. It's really cool. But this scene is just fucking frantic as shit. The music is dramatic, exactly what you would expect for four people trying to lob themselves on top of a plane without dying. And it's great. It's such a good piece. I've been listening to it like basically all day. It was like the first song that I nailed down when we agreed we were going to pick 3 tracks.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, because I'm a bit of an apologist for the Bay Turtles movies, there's certainly a lot to dislike in them, but there's a lot to enjoy. And the soundtracks to both are very good. The first one was done by Brian Tyler, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good egg.
He always brings the good.
Yeah, but there's some really great tracks. I was umming and ahhing between this one and a piece of music called Squirrel Formation off this soundtrack. But I ended up with this one because it's longer, so you get more bang for your buck in it.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's 2 segues. It's interesting that you mentioned him, old Steve Jab, because as honorable mention, he was on my list. He didn't make the cut. Sorry, Steve. But originally, I had a track from a film called Red Notice, which was with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot.
Yes. Yeah. And he did the music for it, and it was a track called The Egg, which was interesting because he called him a good egg. Wow. Yeah, and it's a cracking album. But anyway, I digress. So my first pick. So interesting, all my picks have a slight theme to them. The theme being they're kind of all tracks that when I was a lot younger. And my first pick is actually when I was the youngest. So I saw this film when I was sort of 14, 15. And Dave and I went to see this film, and I always remember this. It was a group of us that went to see it, and originally we were going to see a Jaws film. Right. Might have been Jaws 4, I'm not sure. And Dave and I managed to convince the rest of our friends to go and see this film instead. And after we watched the film, I'm surprised that we didn't get out of there without getting the kicking from our friends. We loved it, but they hated it.
Right.
So the film was Krull.
Right.
Have you seen Krull?
I have not.
Okay. Which is it's kind of like a fantasy. It's even got a bit of sci-fi to it, and it's just straight up cheese adventure. I absolutely love this film, and I keep meaning to go back and watch it, and it has a real place in my heart for being a kid and being a teenager and stuff. But one of the reasons why I love this film so much is the music is outstanding, and it is a prime example of how music lifts the film up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done by James Horner.
Oh, okay.
Did the soundtrack for it. Now, I think I've already picked one of the tracks from it. I think I picked Ride of the Fire Mares before.
That sounds correct to me. I recognise that title, yeah.
So to kind of do a side set, I really wanted to pick it, but I knew I couldn't. I've picked the main title theme for it.
Okay.
Because I remember when we went to see, I remember sitting in when this started and the music started to play, and I was like, oh my God, this is cracking. And it's literally just this, the whole point of this film is basically, we've got this prince and princess, they go to get married, and the princess gets kidnapped on their sort of wedding night, or just after their wedding. And then the prince has to put together like a motley crew of like scoundrels and scallywags, love that word, and I say it again, scallywags, to go after her. And the way the main villain is called the Beast travels is he basically travels in a giant fortress, and the opening credits is basically just giant fortress traveling through space. It looks like a kind of mountain. It's just traveling through space until it gets to the world where the film is set, and it's epic. I love it. I love this piece of music. You will love it too. It's proper. It's a sort of music. It's a sort of you could quite easily sit in Albert Hall and listen to that and not think it had come from a film.
Nice. Excellent. My second pick. So I have to preface this by saying that I didn't actually pick my favourite song off this soundtrack because the title to it is a spoiler, and this is a very, very recent movie. My second track is My Name is Miles Morales by Daniel Pemberton from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Have you seen this yet, B?
No.
Okay, so I wasn't going to spoil it anyway because, like, obviously it's very new. But it might be one of the best superhero movies ever made. Not to put it too much on a fucking pedestal.
Yeah, but, I've been hearing this stuff.
It's so if you liked the first one, which I thought it was phenomenal, this one's somehow even better. I didn't think that was possible, but it is.
Wow.
And imagine being the person who writes a score that is so good that it's still noticeable despite the everything that's going on screen already.
Yeah.
Because that film is a visual treat. The writing is brilliant. The voice performances are fucking phenomenal. Like, the colours are stunning. So, like, to be a soundtrack that not only stands out but also perfectly complements that is like, I mean, just give Daniel Pemberton a shit ton of awards, please, because this is like one of the best scores this fucking century. I love this score. It's somehow, and it's kind of like in the same way that the film does, it combines like a lot of different sort of like styles and instruments and bits of heritage and stuff, and yet somehow still completely works as like a cohesive score to a film. It's truly phenomenal work. Like it's modern, it's percussive, it's energetic, it's dramatic, it's emotive, it's just absolute fire. Like, I came out of the cinema and I was like, Rich, that fucking score, I want to fucking drizzle some chocolate sauce on it and eat it. It's so delicious. And he was like, you are weird. And I was like, yes I am, you married me, you're stuck with it. I can't get enough of this soundtrack, and this particular track is great because it's simultaneously very Miles Morales in the sense that, like, it's very New York, but it's also got a bit of a sort of Hispanic sort of twist, and it's also got like just like a lot of his sort of like heritage and influences in it. But at the same time, it's like a heroic piece of, you know, superhero Spider-Man music. Like I say, it's not my favourite track off the score, but I didn't want to ruin anybody's life by being like blah 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 and giving the title and then just upsetting people, because the less you know about this film, I think the absolute better, because it's just, core, it's a delight. I can't stop me to pick your song, because I won't.
Because he did the soundtrack for the first
and
Spider-Man.
that was brilliant and all. But I don't know what it is about this film. It's like everything has been turned up to 11, and it's just like, I came out of the cinema and I was like, shit, that was magic.
Well, I remember Dave ringing me after he'd cut, and I think he rang me after he came out of the first one, just saying to me like, B, it's like you need to see this film.
Yeah,
like, I'm telling you need to see this film, and he was right, and it was a corker. I think I didn't watch it. I didn't go to cinema to see it. I think it came on and I watched it on TV. And sort of loved it. And I'll probably end up, just because I don't really get to cinema much these days, I will be there come June the 30th, though, boys and girls. Doesn't take a genius to figure out why. And one of the things I do quite like now with the way we are with the internet and stuff, if you're careful about it, you've probably got maybe a 2-week window to survive, and then people move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's really weird. No matter how good a film is, it's like people have like collective memory loss or something, and they just kind of forget and move on. And interestingly, like I think when the new Flash film comes out, I think people will just move on to that. It's not to just take anything away from Across the Spider-Verse, but I think in terms of social media, that's how it would be. Sometimes you get unlucky and you stumble across a massive spoiler because someone's decided to put it in the title of their blog, like the tosser they are. But by and large, you can get away with it. And that's what happened with the first film. I kind of went into that completely blind, even though I watched it months later.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping lightning strikes again.
I was quite lucky with this, because even though I watched the teaser trailer, but then I decided to not watch the full trailer. And I managed to avoid most of what was going on in this, and totally blew my tiny mind.
Cool. Right, we've done one each, and we've only done 20 minutes. I know you've done two.
I've done two. Yeah,
I've done two. God damn it. Yeah. Right. So, we're doing well. Right, my next one, I'm going in age order. So I was 20 when I saw this, and once again, Dave was with me. Shocker. And I think we went to like an evening showing for this. And again, like, we had no idea what we were walking into when we saw this film. And even though there's been many films about this character since then, well, quite a few films and quite a few, different properties and stuff. I think seeing it that first time was just amazing. And that was Batman.
Oh, okay.
Tim Burton Batman.
Mm.
And I still remember just being blown away by it. Regardless of what people say now about, like, oh, look, he doesn't really move, his head doesn't really move, stuff like that. Forget all that shit. Just the gothic nature of the way he did Gotham City and the way he did Batman. And it was one of the first sort of superhero films next to like Superman where they actually took the character seriously.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's always the big secret. When you take the character seriously, no matter what property you do, when you take the character seriously, most of the time you'll hit the mark.
Yeah.
And I thought they properly hit the mark with both Batman and obviously Jack Nicholson's Joker. And the piece of music and obviously Danny Elfman, God bless him, did the soundtrack for this. And it was a good soundtrack. Not only did you have Danny Elfman doing the soundtrack, then Prince just rocks up and like, you know what, I'll throw a few tracks in as well. Okay, Prince. Why not? If you're not busy, yeah. Do you know what, I'll even do a video. Okay, cool. And the track I've picked is called Charge of the Batmobile.
Okay.
This is from one of my favourite scenes in the movie. So this happens... So there's a bit in the movie where Vicky Vale, who's played by Kim Basinger, figures out who Bruce Wayne really is. and she goes to see him in the Batcave, and they have this really nice little sweet scene. Also, it's where my love of polo neck started, because he's busting a proper black polo neck in that.
Oh, mate, he really is.
He is rocking the polo neck in that film. And they're chatting away, and she sort of says, he sort of said, I tried to avoid all this. It's not a perfect world. And she says, it's not a perfect world. I just want to know if we're going to love each other. And then he sort of turns, he said, I'd like to, but he's out there right now, and I have to go to work. And then he opens, and the music kicks in. He opens possibly the biggest safe I've ever seen, and the bat costume behind it, and you see him like, and he puts the bat costume on, and I'm like, shit, he's on. And then the next scene, it's the Batmobile driving into Access Chemicals, which is where he thinks the Joker's held up, and the Batmobile just annihilates the place, and then it's driving out, and all the explosions are going, and I always remember. Even though the visuals were amazing, but the music was almost operatic that was playing in the background. And then after all of that, you find out that Batman was never in it, and he was controlling it by remote control. And I'm like, that's Batman. That's fucking Batman. Honestly, I nearly stood up and was like, that's how you do Batman. That's how you mate, you don't know me. Look, that's how you do flipping Batman. God damn it. But I didn't do that. I just sat there quietly and offered Dave more popcorn. He was jumping out of his chair, to be fair.
I can imagine.
Yeah, awesome scene and an awesome piece of music.
Nice. I love the two Tim Burton Batman movies.
Oh.
I think I've seen Returns more than I've seen just plain old Batman.
Right.
Just by nature of the fact that we class it as a Christmas movie and stick it on every December.
Nice.
There's snow in it. There's a Christmas tree. Fuck off, it's
fair
Christmas.
enough.
In it. But yeah, Danny Elfman's scores for those two films are like, chef's kiss, perfect, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, also, can we just talk about that scene in Batman Returns, which all the new Batman films are great, they're good, there's lots of stuff I like, lots of stuff, things I don't like, None of them, I don't care, top a dude in a polo neck sitting in the fucking darkness in a library, just chilling until the bat signal comes in through the window, and then he's up and he's like, I got shit to do. Why am I here? I got shit to do. Legend.
Yeah, I absolutely. Look, it's a little bit why I'm a bit scared of the Flash movie, because everybody's like, Michael Keaton, Batman's in it. And I'm like, they're just going to fucking make him regurgitate a load of things he said before so that we all go, do you remember Batman? I
watched the trailer for it, and there's a bit, and don't get me wrong, like I'm really interested to see how they do it, how they do him and whatever. But there's a bit where he kind of goes, "You want to get nuts?" And I'm like,
they don't know why that sequence is funny in the first, And
then he's like, "Oh yeah, that's right, yeah, I'm Batman." It's like, no, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do. But I've heard great things about it, so I'm giving it the benefit.
I am really torn on The Flash because I want to see it partly from a just pure completionist kind of, I watch all the superhero movies, so I might as well.
Yeah.
And also because so many people have said that it's like fucking, superhero wanging jizz, brilliant.
Yeah.
But Ezra Miller though.
Yeah, I know. It's
and they're in it more than once. It's like you can't even pretend. Just like avoid the scenes with them in, because it's like
double the arsehole.
They're everywhere. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that's a different story for a different podcast, I think. Fully agree that Danny Elfman is the king of Batman.
Don't get me wrong. I want to give props to the Batman Begins soundtrack because it was James Newton Howard and Hans Zimmer. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that you'd have the two of them like almost in the Starbucks going, "Hoey, James, all right, Hans, how you doing, mate? Do you want a coffee?" Yeah, sit yourself down, mate. What are you doing? I'm working on this new film, like Batman Begins. I can't get it quite right. I'll tell you what, mate. I'll have a crack with you. You sure? Yeah, go on then. And that's exactly how it happened.
That is exactly, exactly how it happened. Yeah. Perfect segue. Speaking of Hans Zimmer.
Ooh.
Speaking of Hans Zimmer. So when I was twiddling about, this was one of the tracks that I was absolutely incensed with myself for not having picked before.
Right.
So everybody who's heard me say any words on the internet before will know that I love Hans Zimmer and pretty much all of his scores. But the Inception score will forever be toward the tippity top of like scores generally, let alone just Hans Zimmer ones, because it is chef's kiss. And the piece of music I picked, I was gonna pick Time, but then I thought that is the one that everybody would pick, and I want to be a weird arsehole contrarian. Let me
see if I can guess. Is it one which has the word childhood in it?
It is not.
Oh. Okay.
No. It's called Mombasa.
That's the one we've been chased through the...
Yeah, and it is frantic as shit.
Yeah, good choice, Stace.
Oh, it's such a good piece of music. Like, this was one of the ones that I used to have on my gym playlist for whenever I was on having a blitz on a treadmill. Because if you want to shit yourself and feel like you're being chased, I about put this song on. What I love about this track is that it's like super percussive, and it sort of builds throughout the track. So it's like it's mostly just sort of like percussion to begin with, and then some like strings creep in there, and then by the end it's just like have the brass and have the fucking blah, and it's like it's just like, and it's the pace like barely ever relents. Like, you just think you're about to catch your breath, and then it's like, shit yourself again, why don't you? Like, the whole track is just so... And it fits the scene of the film just perfectly. It's so, like frenetic and, like, urgent. And at the same time, like, just so, like... just, like, classy and perfect. I can't even describe how great of a piece of music this is. And, just there's a reason why everybody's like, oh, Hans Zimmer, yeah, he's fucking phenomenal, because he is. And I will say, I know a lot of people have said, like, yeah, but he went through that phase, didn't he, where every soundtrack had a bwah song, and I'm like, do you know what? I don't care. Let him have his bwahs. Like everything he does around the bwahs is amazing. Leave him alone. Like, fucking brilliant. Like, I love that film. The soundtrack is perfect. Yeah. Just, it's one of those ones where the soundtrack and the film are just in such, like, synergy.
I remember, like, the last third of that film. Like, I barely took, like, 2 breaths. Oh, no, I probably did, but it didn't feel like it. When that van's falling and all the shit's going on, and you've got... And I'm kind of almost like, again, turning to like random dude next to me in the cinema. It's like, when did this turn into a Bond film? What?
I read the once about something called cute aggression, which is when you see something cute and you get so excited by it, you feel like you have to punch or slap something because you're just like, And I think I get that when I'm excited about things. I feel very sorry for anybody who's going to be sitting next to me when I go see Mutant Mayhem, because you are getting smacked.
Ditto for Indy 5. I apologise in advance.
But Inception was one of those films where I was almost constantly just like, what am I seeing? I need to slap something. Like, it's such a good film. And it's one of those weird ones as well that I panicked about, because everybody said, oh, it's really confusing, and I was thinking, oh no, I'm a bit of an idiot, I won't understand it. And then I came out of the film and I was like worried that I'd misunderstood it, because I felt like I understood it, and I was like, hold on, how does everybody else find this confusing if I get it? But Hans Zimmer just absolutely heard the brief and nailed it.
And quick Hans Zimmer story, which I can't remember if I told you or not. So when we went, and it's a nice segue into the previous track as well. When I went to see James Newton, so I've seen them both in concert now.
Nice.
But when I went to see James Newton Howard in concert, I think it was his one, yeah. Part way through, he kind of, he did one of his tracks and then was talking to the audience, and he was kind of like, you know, I know he doesn't really want any sort of bit of pomp in, but my friend's there, and he's like, stand up, Hans. And Hans Zimmer was in the audience. Just come to watch his mate.
I'd have lost my mind. Imagine if you just realise you're sitting next to Hans Zimmer. I'd die. I'd straight up die.
I'm not real. I'll probably be sitting there with Sue and just going like, "This Sue. You'd be like, what beast? Don't look. He's next to me. Who? No, shut up.
Be cool.
Hans. Zim. Next to me. Just be cool. All right. So,
yeah, I'd have lost my mind if that was me.
I couldn't, and it almost felt so cool that it almost felt like it was staged, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was just so cool. And he's like, stand up, and he stood up, and everyone was just like, what is going on?
Brilliant.
I imagine them to sort of go, oh, you maybe didn't notice, but back up there in the back seats, it's John Williams. Stand up, mate. Jono.
Oh yeah, I would definitely have if I was sat next to John Williams, lose my entire mind. Which
is a good segue into my final track.
Ooh.
Anyone would think all of that nonsense was to set that up, and it wasn't. It really wasn't. So this film I saw when I was 22, and a little bit like you were saying about Inception. Maybe it was Inception. No, it wasn't. This film had been panned. I think it got panned by the critics, and I remember seeing the idea of it and thinking, I just don't see how this is. I'm not sure, but the two main actors, I'm like, there's some serious casting. So I'm like, I'll give it a go. Went in and I loved this film. This is Hook.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I know, real blast from the past. And the reason why the track that I've picked is called, it's really difficult to get hold of it because the actual normal album doesn't have this track on it.
Oh.
But I think they released a sort of extended edition-y thing, which, again, I don't think you can get hold of. So this isn't on Spotify. I found it like on YouTube. But I always remember in the film loving the music that was going on. And have you seen Hook?
I have, yeah. Well, not since I've been an adult because I'm worried that if I watch it now, I'll be like, oh, this is shit. But I loved it when I was younger.
That's always a worry.
Yeah.
But for me, well, speaking as... 54-year-old, I watched this sequence probably about 6 times this evening while I was cooking dinner, and I was like, I love this scene so much. And it's the end fight between Hook and Peter Pan. Mm-hmm. And this is how it's like. Not only is this a masterclass in how you do music for a fight, and John Williams he does some of his best work in Hook, I think.
Yeah.
It's a masterclass in how you do sword fights well. New Star Wars films take note, because a great sword fight should have drama.
Yeah.
You can have all the sort of flashing swords and even people doing flips and stuff, but when you put drama in there, and you've got the music going, it takes it to another level. And that's why I don't want to sound like that guy, but like the lightsaber fights in the original Star Wars films and actually the prequels, to be fair, certainly Duel of the Fates one, are some of my favourite sword fights because they have the drama and they have the score backing it up.
Yeah.
But this one is just I think he says a line in there to Peter Pan says a line. No, Hook says a line to him. He says, "Prepare to die, Peter," and then Pan says, "To die would be a great adventure," and then Hook says, "Death is the only adventure you have left." I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's good dialogue.
It's just like, I just sat there watching it today and going like, that holds up. and then the music going and they're fighting away. Yeah, it's just. And there's another bit where he sort of says, it's like Peter Pan prepared to die. And he says another thing to him like, "Dark and sinister man, have at thee." I'm like, come on. This is for kids. What? You don't need to go that hard. And yet Spielberg did, and I'm grateful for it. And John Williams was right there, God bless him, backing him up. Because the music it's like peak Williams for me. The music for that fight scene, it's awesome. And in fact, I'm gonna re-listen to the whole soundtrack for this because I actually think it's one of them soundtracks doesn't get a lot of love, a lot of mentions with John Williams stuff. I think people always go to like Superman, Star Wars, Raiders and E.T. and all the rest of it. And Hook doesn't really get a lot of love, and it should, because actually it's a glorious soundtrack.
Yeah, now that you've said that, because I go to like quite a lot of the CBSO in Brum do a like John Williams night, like at least once a year,
Right.
and they never pick anything from Hook.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah.
There's so much John Williams stuff out there, and they're just like, have the Star Wars theme. I'm like, all right, it is good, but give me something a little sweeter.
Yeah, that's why I get a little bit sometimes, because it's kind of like, and every one of the big films that he scored, they always pick the same music.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, but even, I love don't get me wrong, I love the Raiders March.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't need to hear the Raiders March on a trailer for Indiana Jones. There's other way you could do, or other music from the sort of Raiders, the Indiana Jones saga that you could use.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just phenomenal.
Nice. Excellent. I sincerely hope that we're able to get those bits of music to put in the background so that people can hear them, because I always feel like I do such a bad job at describing music.
Me too.
And I'm like, if you haven't seen the film, you're fucked, lads. Yeah. You ain't going to know at all what I'm talking about.
What's she mean about point? What was that? What do I do with that?
Yeah, no, there's a bit towards the end of my Mombasa where the like drums are doing their little like in the background, and then trumpets are just going wah, wah. You're like, but it's like, it sounds really good. Nothing like how I made it sound.
This isn't a pick, but it's more of a question for you. Have you listened to the soundtrack for On Her Majesty's Secret Service?
No, I haven't.
Right. You need to put that in your ears. The reason being, if you like that album, you'll be like messaging me afterwards going, yeah. The title track alone will be enough for you, but you'll love it, trust me.
I do love a well deployed bois.
How did it get this random?
On that note, hey, that was a very special Musical Musings episode of Stace and Barry in the Morning. If you'd like to get in touch with us, send an email to staceandbarry@gmail.com, or you can do us a tweet or an Instagram at Stacey's Parlour or at Geek Syndicate. Fair warning, up until sort of around the second week of August, I'm likely to be talking about Mutant Mayhem. Which actually, slightly related note, did you know that Trent Reznor and Atticus, what's his face, why have I forgotten his name, are doing the soundtrack to that movie?
Oh, yeah. Trent Reznor, what's he done?
He was in 9 Inch Nails, but he's soundtrack-wise, he did Soul for Pixar. He's done a bunch of stuff.
He hasn't, yeah.
That's all fallen out of my brain now that you've asked me, because I didn't prep this bit of content because I thought we were finishing the episode, and then I went on a Mutant Mayhem tangent, which is basically my life lately. I'm so excited. Oh, fucking hell. I need to calm down. But yeah, I'm really excited to hear a bit of that, because they've been very secretive with the trailer by using like actual songs rather than soundtracky music-y bits. Yeah. So that I don't even have like a flavour of what it's going to be like yet, which is very intriguing to me. But anyway, yes, we've finished now. Do us a tweet, send us an email. We love you. Listen to all the soundtracks because they're good. And
suggest your soundtracks as well.
Yeah, do that, because I am getting to a point where I feel like I'm going to have to start picking things from albums I've already picked from before. Because here's the thing, I don't know if you do this, B, but I don't listen to soundtracks for films and stuff that I haven't actually like seen.
Oh no, I don't do that.
But I feel like I should, because I must be missing some like choice musical content. But anyway, the end. We love you. Bye everyone.
Bye all.